Every town has its ghost stories, and ours was no different. Crescent Valley High was built in the early 1900s, a towering brick structure that had seen generations of students come and go. But there was one part of the school no one talked about: the forgotten wing. It had been sealed off years ago after a supposed accident. Some said a fire broke out, trapping students inside. Others whispered about a teacher who had gone missing, never to be seen again. The official story was structural instability, but even the teachers avoided talking about it. There was only one way in, a rusted metal door at the end of the north hallway, always locked, always chained, until the night we found it open. It started as a stupid dare. My friends and I were bored one Friday night, stuck in detention for skipping gym. There were 5 of us: Jake, Eric, Sarah, Mia, and me. That's when Jake brought it up. Bet you guys are too scared to check out the forgotten wing. Mia rolled her eyes. Oh please, Jake, that place is just old classrooms and dust. Eric smirked. Then let's go see for ourselves. We knew the school janitor left by 7. If we were careful, we could slip in unnoticed. So, with phone flashlights in hand, we crept through the dim hallways toward the north hallway. That's when we saw it. The chain on the rusted metal door was gone. The padlock hung loose, as if someone had just unlocked it. Sarah hesitated. Guys, maybe this isn't a good idea. But Jake was already pushing the door open. The air inside was different, stagnant, heavy. The temperature dropped instantly, sending a chill down my spine. Desks were overturned, papers lay scattered across the floor, untouched for decades. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A student's backpack. It looked old, but not old enough, like it had been left here maybe a few months ago. Who would leave their stuff in here? Mia whispered. Nobody answered. Jake walked ahead, shining his light around. See? Just an abandoned hallway. Then we heard it, a creak from down the hall. We all froze. It wasn't the building settling, it wasn't the wind, it was footsteps. Eric whispered, someone else is here. I swallowed hard. We should go. Then Jake did the dumbest thing imaginable. Hello? He called out. His voice echoed down the hall. Silence. Then a door slammed shut in the distance. Mia grabbed my arm. Guys, let's get out of here. We turned back toward the entrance, but the door was shut, and when Jake pulled on it, it wouldn't budge. Help me with this, he grunted, yanking at the handle. Sarah backed away. Something's coming, I turned. Down the hallway, something moved. Not a person, not an animal, just a shape, tall, wrong. It had no face, just a shifting black void where features should have been. And it was watching us. Then it moved. Fast. We ran. Desks crashed behind us, chairs tumbling over as if something unseen was hurling them aside. My heart pounded as we sprinted down the hallway, searching for another way out. Then Eric screamed. I turned just in time to see him get yanked backward by nothing, like invisible hands had grabbed him. No, Mia shrieked, reaching for him. Too late. Eric was gone. The hallway stretched empty behind us, but we still heard him screaming. I don't remember how we found the second door, just that Sarah started pounding on it, sobbing. And then, miraculously, it opened. We spilled out into the main school hallway, gasping for breath. Behind us, the metal door slammed shut on its own. We didn't wait. We ran until we were out of the school, past the parking lot, all the way to the nearest street light. Eric never came back. The police searched the school but found nothing. No sign of him, no sign of anyone. And the next time we checked, the metal door was chained again, like it had never been open at all. We tried telling people. No one believed us. But every so often when I pass Crescent Valley High at night, I swear I see something in the windows. Watching. Waiting for the next fool to open the door. I never believed the stories about Lincoln High School being haunted. It was just an old building, nothing more. The school had been around since the early 1900s, and of course, people claimed weird things happened over the years. Strange noises, missing items, flickering lights. But that's normal for any old place. I worked part-time as a janitor after school to save up for a car. It wasn't a bad gig. Mopping floors, emptying trash, locking up classrooms. The pay was decent, and most nights I had the school to myself. That was until one Friday in October. That night, the principal asked me to do a full walkthrough after my usual cleaning. Some teachers had complained about lights being left on and doors being unlocked. I didn't think much of it and took my time checking every classroom, making sure everything was in order. By 9 p.m., the school was empty. At least, it was supposed to be. I was on the third floor when I heard the first sound. It was faint, like a desk chair scraping against the floor. It came from room 306, down at the end of the hallway. I knew for a fact I had locked that door. I walked over slowly, my footsteps echoing in the empty hall. When I reached the door, I tested the handle. Still locked. But as I stood there, I heard another sound. This time, it was the distinct shuffle of feet inside the classroom. Someone was in there. Thinking it was a student who had stayed behind, I knocked hard. "Hey, you're not supposed to be here. The building's closed." No response. I knocked again. "If you're in there, you need to leave now." Still nothing. I reached for my keys, found the one for 306, and unlocked the door. The fluorescent lights flickered as I stepped inside. The room was empty, but something was wrong. All the desks were slightly pulled away from their normal spots, as if someone had pushed them out of place just a few inches. Not enough to be obvious, but enough that I noticed. I exhaled sharply and rubbed the back of my neck. Maybe one of the teachers left them like this. Or maybe a student had been here earlier and slipped out when I wasn't looking. I locked the door behind me and moved on. As I finished checking the last few rooms, I felt uneasy, like I wasn't alone. But that was ridiculous. It was just my imagination messing with me, or so I thought. At 9:45, I headed toward the main entrance to lock up for the night. That's when I saw it. Down the hall, by the stairwell, a shadow moved. It wasn't just a flicker or a trick of the light, it was the full silhouette of a person. I froze. "Hey," I called out, my voice echoing. "You're not supposed to be here." The shadow didn't move. It just stood there, partially obscured by the stairwell. I took a step forward, my heart pounding. "If you don't come out, I'm calling the cops." Still no movement. I pulled out my phone, ready to dial 911, when the school's PA system suddenly crackled to life. A burst of static blared through the speakers, followed by a low humming sound. I looked up at the nearest speaker. The PA system hadn't been used all night. There was no reason for it to turn on by itself. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. Silence. I turned back to the stairwell. The shadow was gone. A chill ran through me. I hurried to the front office, checked the security cameras, and rewound the footage. My stomach dropped. The cameras had been off for the past hour. I grabbed my things and got out of there as fast as I could. The next morning, I told the principal what had happened. He didn't look surprised. "You're not the first one," he said quietly. He told me that back in the 1960s, a student went missing inside the school. A junior named Eric Dawson had been last seen on the third floor after detention. No one ever found him. The only clue was his backpack, which had been left in room 306. After that, strange things started happening. Lights turning on by themselves, doors unlocking overnight, figures appearing in the hallways when no one was there. "I don't know if you believe in ghosts," the principal said, "but if you do, maybe don't work the night shift anymore." I quit the following week. And to this day, I don't know what I saw that night. But I do know this, somewhere in that school, Eric Dawson is still there. And he's not alone. I never liked being in the school after dark. It wasn't because I was afraid of ghosts or anything. I just didn't like the way the place felt when it was empty. The hum of the fluorescent lights, the way my footsteps echoed down the halls, the faint creaks and groans of the old building settling. I was a junior at Westbridge High, and I worked part-time in the library after school. It was an easy enough job, checking out books, shelving returns, cleaning up after students who never bothered to put things back where they belonged. But sometimes when the librarian had to leave early, I was left alone to close up. That's when the weird things started happening. It began with little stuff. Books falling off the shelves when no one was around, the old wooden chairs at the study tables moving ever so slightly, like someone had just gotten up. I told myself it was my imagination, or maybe just the building shifting. But then, one night, I saw something that changed everything. It was a Thursday and the library closed at 7 p.m. By 6:45, most students had already left. I was at the front desk scanning a few last-minute returns when I heard a noise from the back of the library. It was the sound of footsteps. I looked up. The back section of the library, the reference section, was empty. I stood up slowly, my heart picking up speed. "Hello?" I called. "Library's closing soon. You need to check out your books now." No response. I walked around the desk and made my way toward the sound. The reference section was dimly lit, with tall shelves that created narrow aisles. I peeked around each one, expecting to find a student who had lost track of time, but there was no one there. I exhaled sharply and turned to leave. That's when I heard it again. Footsteps, right behind me. I spun around. Nothing. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. I was done for the night. I hurried back to the front desk, grabbed my bag, and locked up as fast as I could. The next day, I told Mrs. Porter, the librarian, about what had happened. She gave me a strange look but didn't seem surprised. "You're not the first person to hear things back there," she said. I laughed nervously. "Yeah? Who else?" She hesitated. "A few students over the years, even some teachers. And me." She told me the library hadn't always been part of the school. Decades ago, before it was renovated, it used to be something else, an old basement-level storage area. Back in the 1950s, a janitor named Harold used to work down there. He was quiet, kept to himself, never really talked to anyone. Then, one night, he just disappeared. The story went that he had been working late, cleaning up after a school dance. No one saw him leave, and he never came home. His car was still parked in the lot the next morning, his locker untouched. The police searched everywhere, but there was no sign of him. And here's the part that really freaked me out. Mrs. Porter said some people believed he never left the building. "There were rumors," she said, lowering her voice, "that something happened to him down in that basement, that maybe he got locked in and no one found him." I swallowed hard. "You really think he's still here?" She gave me a tight smile. "I think some people don't know how to move on." I tried to shake off the story, but from that night on, things got worse. One evening, as I was shelving books in the back, I felt a breath of cold air against my neck. The library had no windows, no vents that could have caused it. I turned, expecting to see someone standing there, but I was alone. Another time, I was closing up when I heard a faint tapping sound. It was rhythmic, steady, like fingers drumming on a table. It was coming from inside the supply closet. I stood there, frozen, listening. The tapping stopped. I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I reached for the closet handle and pulled it open. The light inside flickered weakly. It was just a small storage space lined with shelves stacked with extra paper, book covers, and supplies. Nothing looked out of place. Then I saw it, a single book lying open on the floor. I bent down and picked it up. It was an old, worn-out ledger, the kind teachers use to take attendance. And there, on the last page, written in faded ink, was a name. Harold. I dropped the book and stumbled back, slamming the closet door shut. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about the name, the tapping, the cold breath on my neck. The next evening, I was determined to get out of there as fast as possible. I kept my head down, finished my work quickly, and started shutting off the lights. But just as I reached the front desk, the computer screen flickered. The library catalog had been closed, but suddenly a search bar popped up. One word typed itself onto the screen. Help. I felt my stomach drop. My hands trembled as I reached for the power button. I turned off the computer and grabbed my bag. As I headed for the door, I heard it again. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. And then just as I stepped into the hallway, I heard something that still haunts me to this day. A whisper. Low, hoarse, almost pleading. "Don't leave me." I ran. The next day, I quit my job at the library. I never set foot in that room again. But every now and then, I think about Harold, and I wonder if, after all these years, he's still waiting for someone to find him.